Good morning. Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Madison. My name is Brian, and my pronouns are he, him. I am a member of this congregation, and I'm volunteering today as a worship associate to help lead the service. Today, I am joined by one of our co-senior ministers, the Reverend Kelly Asprooth-Jackson, and by the worship team of Linda Warren, Drew Collins, Stephen Gregorius, and Daniel Carnes. Thank you to everyone volunteering today: Renee U. Hardy, Elizabeth Barrett, Amy Ganaway, Jeannie Hills, Alice Delaquez, Roberta Carnes, Gail Bliss, and Anne Gullickson. Special thank you as well to Olivia Montgomery for sharing her gift of music this morning. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you are visiting us today, welcome. We're very glad that you're with us. If you would like more information about First Unitarian Society, please stop by the welcome table located in the Commons. We also hope that you'll be able to stay and join us for coffee hour immediately after the service, also in the Commons. For those connecting with us virtually today, we are glad that you are with us as well. And we hope that you'll be able to take a moment and watch the announcement slides after today's service to learn about upcoming programs and activities. And now I invite you to join me in a moment of silence to center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time as we join together once again in community.
Let us give thanks for a bounty of people, for children who are our second planting, and though they grow like weeds and the wind too soon blows them away, may they forgive us our cultivation and fondly remember where their roots are.
Let us give thanks for generous friends, with hearts and smiles as bright as their blossoms.
For feisty friends, as tart as apples.
For continuous friends who, like scallions and cucumbers, keep reminding us that we've had them.
For crotchety friends, as sour as rhubarb and as indestructible.
For handsome friends who are as gorgeous as eggplants and as elegant as a row of corn, and the others as plain as potatoes and as good for you.
For funny friends who are as silly as Brussels sprouts and as amusing as Jerusalem artichokes, and serious friends as complex as cauliflowers and as intricate as onions.
For friends as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini, and who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see you throughout the winter.
For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in the evening time, and young friends, coming on as fast as radishes.
For loving friends, who wind around us like tendrils and hold us, despite our blights, wilts, and witherings.
And finally, for those friends now gone, like gardens past that have been harvested, and who fed us in their times that we might have life thereafter.
For all these we give thanks. Amen.
And now I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do, and to join me in the words of aspiration for the kindling of our chalice flame. Like the light from this flame, which touches each of us, may our generosity connect us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality, as we covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources with each other and the world, let us cultivate the spirit of gratitude and hope. And now I invite you to reach out to those around you and greet each other with signs of love and peace. It being the weekend after Thanksgiving, our opening and closing hymns today are in honor of the very late autumn, that season that has just been very abruptly ended in dramatic fashion. So I invite you to join me in hymn number 53, I Walk the Unfrequented Road. We will sing all 5 verses. Number 5, 3 silver and gray hymnals. The story that I have for you today is a fable from Aesop. Aesop, if he existed at all, which is a little bit debatable, was a storyteller long ago in ancient Greece. He was, the story goes, a slave for much of his life who earned his freedom, as was possible in that place and that time, through his wits and creativity and through his storytelling. So this, at least I am told, was one of his. Once there was a heron. And this heron went out to fish one day by a fast-running stream in the bright light of the morning sun. The heron watched the waters and looked for just the right fish to eat. It saw down there little fish, tiny, tiny fish, far too small for a hungry animal like itself. It watched a few more medium-sized fish swim by, and it might have tried to eat those, but it thought, no, I am going to wait for the perfect fish. And it waited. And it waited, and it waited, and other fish did go by, and some of them were larger still, but they weren't just right. And eventually, the sun got hot, and the stream warmed up, The fish all went to other places down deeper or in the cooler water, and the heron was still hungry. Eventually, it spied a little snail over on a rock, and with great urgency, it went down, picked it up, and ate it. And it was happy for the meal, but it wasn't exactly filling. And it realized that if it had eaten one of the other fish that had come by earlier, it would have had a much better meal than that small, meager snail. So you see, sometimes in life we are waiting for just the right thing, that most marvelous, perfect, ideal, whatever it is. But we allow so many other fish that might be of use to us, that might be of enjoyment or meet some of our needs, to pass us by. So that sometimes we ought to let go of this ideal of perfection and appreciate the gifts that are already right in front of us. Now, I'm going to invite you to rise once more in body and or spirit. We're going to turn to number 15 in your silver and gray hymnals, or the words on the screen, as we sing together The Lone Wild Bird, number 1-5.
I think it was Marie who first taught me the art of spreading flattery on people, then smearing it around like marmalade on slabs of whole wheat bread, or how to spray them lightly with a mist of unexpected praise from one of those special nozzles you attach to the end of your garden hose. Walking around with her that year, I watched how she would lubricate the world, nuns and firemen, nannies and human resource managers, 9-year-old kids in city playgrounds, and widows selling flags in Central Park. Pretty soon, I started doing it myself, telling this person and that how good they look today, how rare it is to see a job well done, how excellent their taste in clothes. I liked the way even the most crusty and resistant at first would startle under the assault, then start to flourish under the effect. I liked to watch the moisture trickle down to their roots and then back up again to all 4 corners of the leaf. Why did I ever think that approval was gratuitous? Why did it take me so long to see the power of sweetness is as great as the power of the river and the sun? If I can't improve the world by scorching it with truth, if I can't conquer it by twisting its arm behind its back, then give me some adjectives like lipstick and gloss. Give me some language like mint and honey for the heart. I will lavish the world with the power of butter. I will force it to feel good about itself. First, I will make it blush. Then I will step back and watch it shine.
If the moon came out only once a month, people would appreciate it more. They'd mark it in their date books, take a walk by moonlight, notice how their bedroom window framed its silver smile. These are the first 4 lines of a poem by Seattle poet Kathy Ross. In the remaining stanzas, she muses on what it might be like if the moon appeared even less frequently in the sky, only once a year, or only on random nights, or even as rarely as once in a century. How we would watch for it, like a rare and lucky item in the weather report, or remark with awe and hope to one another. Yes, I saw it once. Maybe you will live to see it too. But, the author observes with a tinge of lament, the moon is always with us, an old familiar face, like the mantle clock, so no one pays it much attention. The things that seem to be always with us, which are reliable, predictable, or commonplace, seem often to be the hardest things for us to appreciate fully. It can be difficult to muster awe for the blades of grass in an open field, or the infinity of crystalline snowflakes interfering in one's morning obligations. However wondrous and vast the underlying processes behind these mundane miracles might be. My message to you today is an exhortation to such wonderment, difficult as it might seem, and to the bone-deep gratitude for the everyday, which exists in a virtuous cycle with that sort of awe. Now, I should say at the outset that a fully adequate substitution for this reflection would be for you to spend an equal amount of time this evening gazing up at the moon. It might be that such a practice would prove a fine replacement for any and all of my sermons. I leave that to you to judge. But in this case, the attentive contemplation of what is transcendently ordinary would certainly fill in for what I am about to say, since I am only hoping to point you towards it through story and through poem. Let's have one of those stories then, a short one that you might know. Long ago in Japan, there lived a certain monk named Ryokan. He was exceptionally poor, unencumbered by possessions. One night, a thief broke into Ryokan's tiny, humble hermitage, and he was perplexed and disturbed to find that there was nothing there that he could steal, just the monk himself, seated in contemplation in an otherwise empty single room. He was lit only by the light of the moon coming in through the single window of the house. Now, out of generosity and concern for someone who was so desperate that they would attempt to rob a person as poor as him, Ryokan gave the thief his cloak, his only real possession in the world. It was after the robber left him that, supposedly, Ryokan composed the haiku that is probably his most famous poem, at least in the English-speaking world. The thief left it behind, the moon at my window. According to this story, the monk poet wished that he could give something more to the thief, wished that he could give him the moon. But really, the gift would not have been the moon itself, but his own way of seeing it and appreciating it. Sometimes transferring such wonder from one person to another feels as impossible as it would be to transfer a celestial object that is a little over 1% of the Earth's mass. If we are taught to think of miracles at all, it is normally as intrusions, disruptions in the mundane. Something far beyond and greater than what is normal explodes into our familiar reality, shoving aside routine, common sense, and the laws of thermodynamics. The visions of the saints are like this, as are all of the blockbuster surround sound moments of Scripture. In the story of Moses in the Hebrew Bible, the voice of the divine speaks aloud to him, calling him to his prophetic mission from a bush set spontaneously ablaze with a fire that does not consume it. In one of the teachings from the Muslim tradition, the plant not only survives, but flourishes, its branches spontaneously forming buds that blossom and flower even as they are wreathed in flame. Moses is overcome. He takes off his shoes, the appropriate thing to do in his culture when one is standing on holy ground. But imagining that this is what and all of what a miracle is, supposes that there are two distinct tracks to our experience: the natural and the supernatural, the marvelous and the mundane. The English Romantic poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning railed against this binary, this dichotomy between the minor and the major keys of life, between what is, spiritually speaking, either great or small. Specifically, she wrote, "Nothing's small. No lily-muffled hum of a summer bee but finds some coupling with the spinning stars. No pebble at your foot but proves a sphere. No chaffinch but implies the cherubim. And glancing on my own thin-veined wrist, in such a little tremor of the blood, the whole strong clamor of a vehement soul doth utter itself distinct. Earth's crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. But only he who sees takes off his shoes." To marvel at what is common is a matter of time, at least a little bit. When we are harried or rushed, it is rarer to notice our potential amazement. But it is also a practice. You can spend time attending to the natural world, to the rhythms of friendships, to your own precious body, and still not actually appreciate these things. The appreciation of the thing is in the gratitude for it. I'll tell you another story about this from the Muslim tradition, about Mullah Nasruddin Hoja, who was a real person, but in many of the stories about him, he's more like a folk character than a historical figure. The story goes that the wise man was sitting under a walnut tree one day, eating nuts, and thinking about how beautiful and how elegantly arranged the world is. Ah, he thought to himself, it is true that the world's a very fine place, but it is not perfect. For if I were to order the cosmos, I would make some corrections. For instance, walnuts are very good to eat, and in their season they fill the branches of the trees on which they grow. But they are very small, and one has to eat a great many of them in order to be filled. Pumpkins, on the other hand, are quite large and nourishing. If I were the master of the universe, I would ordain that pumpkins should grow on trees just as widely and abundantly as walnuts do. Just at this moment, as Nasruddin was thinking all of this to himself, a single walnut happened to fall from a branch on the tree that he was seated under. It landed with a gentle tap on his head. It bounced into his lap. For a long moment, Nasruddin stared down at the nut, and then he jumped to his feet, pronouncing a long, loud, heartfelt prayer of thanksgiving, thanks that he was not the master of the universe. Wonder promotes gratitude, and gratitude moves us to the generosity of spirit that creates and sustains the acts of justice and mercy on which our continuing to live together here on earth depend. So we need wonder, and we would do well to seek it out in the supposedly little things of life. There is certainly enough of it there to be found. As the Episcopal priest Barbara Brown Taylor has said, earth is so thick with divine possibility that it is a wonder we can walk anywhere without cracking our shins on altars. The graduation ceremony that was held at the end of my time in seminary was framed with several of the elements of a worship service. And at the end of those proceedings, the benediction was given by the then president of the school, who, by some coincidence, is the author of the congregational response that we sing together each week to close our ritual for the cares of the congregation. In her blessing to close that service, I heard the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker say this: I will not tell you to go in peace. You have come too far and worked too hard to bless the status quo. But do love what is. Appreciating the divine possibility in the world that we are a part of does not mean resigning ourselves to things just as they are. Indeed, full appreciation of the daily, hourly, minute-by-minute blessings of life will call us to want better for each other and the world. Moses' bush was a call to a person in relative safety to struggle for the liberation of others, after all. And wonder is not a panacea. It does not automatically overcome or erase the grief and the hardship of life. Our spiritual ancestor, Ralph Waldo Emerson, made an entry in his journal in 1831. To the dull mind, all nature is leaden. To the illumined mind, the whole world burns and sparkles with light. Every weed, every atom discloses its relations. The world is instinct with life. He wrote that just a few months after the death of his beloved wife. The very next entry in his journal is a long, florid poem about her death, about his grief. When life feels leaden, wonder still can seep in at the cracks. Perhaps we can even begin to climb out of the well of grief a bit by searching for those cracks, for something to be grateful for amidst those most terrible things for which there can be no thanksgiving. One last story now, of a great meeting of fish, which was held in the deepest part of the ocean. The fish had heard of this great thing to which all life in the world owed its very existence. Without its might and power, no egg could ever hatch, no pearl could ever form inside an oyster's shell. All creatures seek after it every day of their lives, and yet it is always with each of them. Even in the moments of deepest hardship and sorrow, it abides in their tears. The word for this great and wondrous thing the fish knew was water. And yet in all of their lifetimes, none of the fish had ever heard or seen or smelled or tasted this wonderful thing. So they came together to try to figure out just what this water was. One fish said, "The great and powerful water must be like a distant king who works from afar and is never seen by his subjects." Another said that the awesome water was too big to touch the world, but that perhaps one day, in another life, each fish might get to meet him face to face. A third fish said, with fear in their voice, that such a powerful thing must only be hidden because it wants to be, and that all the fish put themselves in great danger, even by questioning the inscrutable water. Then a fourth voice came and asked, "Without proof, how can we know that this thing called water exists at all?" And so they argued and debated together for a long time. Then at last there came a very small voice from a very small and humble fish who said, "I do not know what this thing called water is, but I do know of a very wise fish who lives far, far from here." And so the whole great school of fish traveled together to a distant part of the ocean and found that wise old fish and asked her their question, "What is this thing called water?" And this is the answer that she gave them. "Water surrounds you. You struggle to see and understand it because it is always everywhere. You take it in with each breath. It is what you move through and what you are made up of. In the whole of the ocean, there is nothing of which water is not a part." And so it is with us as well. We live our whole lives surrounded by the wonder of the universe which resides in us as much as in all other people and things. Yet so often we do not even notice the awesomeness that abides within and around us at all times. But when we come together to share our ideas about life and the world, we have the chance to learn together and to notice the ocean that we are all swimming in. Sometimes the best way of learning is by taking the risk of admitting that we do not know and opening ourselves up to someone else's answer. Shortly, once this service is closed, we'll have our own weekly opportunity to exchange our own answers with each other about what is wondrous to us in the countless small, familiar, or predictable things that surround us. But for now, you have made it to the end of the sermon. and without resorting to gazing at the moon instead. Good for you. You still can take that third of an hour or so tonight, though, to go outside and look up. In fact, I commend it to you, as does Kathy Ross, the poet whom I began with. I will leave you with this final exhortation of hers. Tonight, why not go outside and gaze up in wonder, as if you'd never seen it before, as if it were a miracle, as if you had been waiting all your life.
I invite you into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering, which supports the work of our outreach offering recipient, who this week is the Respite Center. The Respite Center provides emergency childcare and respite for children ages 0 to 14, parent support, and crisis counseling 7 days a week. In addition to quality childcare, the Respite Center helps parents and caregivers access important resources to help support and stabilize their family. There are multiple ways to share your gifts. Baskets are about to be passed here in the auditorium for cash or checks, or you can donate directly on our website, fusmadison.org, and you will see on the screen our text to give information. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together.
Each week we gather, bringing with us the joys and the losses of our days. We share these here knowing they are held in love, in care, and in support. We light a candle for all of those who feel isolated by grief, by chronic pain, by mental illness, and all others who are alone and lonely. To you we extend our compassionate hearts. We light a candle of ongoing lament for the violence which plagues our world. Particularly in this moment, we think of recent killings in Washington, D.C. and Stockton, California. Fervently, we yearn for peace here at home and around the globe. And we light one final candle for all that lives in our hearts, the joy and the celebration, the sorrows and the loss. May we know that we are held in love. I invite you now to turn with me both inward and outward, and to join me in an attitude of meditation and of prayer. To whom it may concern, to every soul in this sanctuary and every life touched by any one of us, known or unknown, to the creatures of the land and the fishes of the sea and the birds of the air, to the rocks in the earth and the stars in the sky, to everything and everyone, and yes, even to you, God. Now is the time when the days grow shorter and the hills and valleys once awash with color in the last gasp of dying leaves give way to duller hues. When the rivers and the lakes are freshly filled by rain turning to snow. And so it is right that we should pray in thanks for the blessings of the late autumn turn to winter, even though they may be colder and less vibrant. Let us give a moment to the fallen tree, covered by a forest of mushrooms and a blanket of snow, whose decay will bring new richness to the land on which it fell. Let us spare a little time for the nuts and seeds now buried or hidden away for long winter months, waiting to spring forth as new growing things, or to give nourishment to foraging creatures in need of sustenance. May we bless the worms that labor in the dark night of the soil. Here too is life, unthinkably old and eternally new. Thanks for it. Now, in the short days and the long nights, as the land prepares to slumber, Spirit of life, source of peace, song that the universe sings to itself, abide with us. Moved by the deep well of feeling that touches each of our hearts, we spend a moment together in reverent silence. Amen. There is a love holding us. There is love holding all that we are. There is love holding all. We rest in His love. Our closing hymn today is one we don't sing that often. It's number 6-9 in your silver and gray hymnals. It is a hymn of thanksgiving and appreciation for the turning of the season, for the labor that makes all life possible, as well as for the circumstances of the country it is sung in. A reminder, perhaps, that Thanksgiving can be a celebration of what is, and sometimes also an aspiration of what might still be. I invite you to rise once more in body and or spirit and join me in singing 69, Give Thanks.
For the sun
May you rise in the morning and greet the dawn with a grateful heart. Throughout the day, may you accept the simple gifts that arise: food, shelter, water, sunshine, with a grateful heart. May you greet others whose paths you cross with that same gratefulness. And when evening comes, may you greet sleep with a grateful heart, a heart of compassion and joy. Blessed be. Go in peace, and please be at rest for the postlude.